You sometimes you just don't know what you have until it's gone. I think we're all kind of feeling that this week because suddenly Donald Trump's 3-hour press conferences are canceled for the foreseeable future. And I know this is what we all wanted. We love the Trump show. It's the most fun thing about having Donald Trump as president. And we've wanted him to have this Hugo Chavez style, almost Sábado Gigante type of show. And, where he would take questions, he would berate reporters, he talked about how amazing he was, and just be this 3-hour crazy press extravaganza. But we never even got to the really fun stuff. He never fired anybody, and that's his catchphrase, "You're fired." Dr. Fauci's still there, Dr. Birx is still there, and he never sang. Hugo Chavez at least sang. It just, this is what I've wanted since the very beginning, and I just worry that we didn't savor it enough. But the whole thing is the Trump show, as much as we make fun of it, it was a distraction. He wanted this to be a replacement for the kind of political rallies that he couldn't have because COVID-19. He can't go out and do his sort of stand-up style political rally. It just doesn't work. And we all know why it ended. It ended because of Bleachgate. It ended because he didn't quite say inject yourself with Lysol or bleach or whatever, but that's how it was interpreted. That's how it was filtered through the media to a lot of people. And he thinks it wasn't fair, and he thinks people are being mean to him. And we all feel very sorry for the president, whose self-aggrandizing press conferences haven't worked out the way that he had hoped. Well, this what this show is not just about the media, but about Trump and his most ardent defenders, is how focused they are on the wrong things. They're focused on demonizing or aggrandizing the president. What the president said was a little silly. I admit that. It was a little bit silly. Not nearly as silly as people are making it out to be. He didn't say inject yourself with bleach. It's kind of hard to tell what he was talking about. And then when people challenged him on it, he just kept digging the hole deeper and deeper. He had no common sense. He's not that good at playing the media. He wants us all to believe that he's the master of playing the media. It just hasn't worked out for him. Uh, his most ardent defender, Scott Adams, famously said, "If 100 people look at exactly the same thing at the same time, they'll arrive at wildly different opinions of what they're seeing." And that's what we saw with Bleachgate. That we all heard it. We all heard what he said. And some people chose to interpret it charitably. And some people kind of said that was silly or that was nuts.
Well, I have to say that as much as I do agree with you that Trump has a tendency to fall into these landmines. In fact, that's why I generally don't watch his press briefings at all. I can find the highlights later on through other means, and a lot of the times it's just not that relevant. But at the same time, I have to admit that there's no doubt to me in my mind that the media leads him on into asking him questions that maybe somebody else would say, okay, I'm not going to answer that question. And
Right.
Trump feels obligated to answer it, despite the fact that clearly it's just meant to lead him into a landmine. And I still can't forget one of the highlights I saw where a reporter asked him, why don't we just shut down all the supermarkets? And as that obviously is that was just a landmine question where they were trying to make him say something stupid, and he didn't. He didn't, because of course Trump has actually been pretty consistent, and he hasn't ordered any shutdowns. The CDC has made recommendations, but through the force of the federal government, we haven't had really any shutdowns at all, which I really commend him for. But I do think it's become quite a circus, and that's why, for the most part, I don't even listen to them. I don't watch them.
Yeah. But this is the actual quotation. Now, everybody is seeing something different in this. But this is what he actually said that everybody's arguing about. He said, "So I asked Bill a question some of you are thinking of if you're into that world, which I find to be pretty interesting. So supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light, and I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you were," and he's referring to Dr. Burke's here, he says, "you're going to test it." And then I said, supposing it brought the light inside the body, which you can either do through the skin or some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting. And I Then I see the disinfectant where it knocks out in 1 minute. And is there a way you can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets into the lungs and it does a tremendous number on the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that out. So you're going to have to use medical doctors, but it sounds pretty interesting to me. So we'll see. But the whole concept of the light, the way it goes in 1 minute, that's the way it goes in 1 minute. That's pretty powerful. Now, I do not believe that Donald Trump has seen disinfectant knock out COVID 19 in a minute. He says, then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in 1 minute. And is there a way you can do something like that by injection inside? And that's why people are saying he's talking about
I think
injecting
he, I
disinfectant.
think he clear, I think he clearly meant he's talking about literal disinfectant on a surface or something like that, and saying, is it possible to do something like that within the human body? Not necessarily with disinfectant. I think he meant as far as actually being able to do something along the same lines. That's the way I interpret it.
Yeah, it wasn't clear to me because he was talking about UV rays just before that, and so I thought maybe he's talking about that you have to get out and get sunlight, or it's so hard to tell. But he wants us to fill in the blanks. So he'll just throw stuff out there. It'll make no sense, and we're all supposed to be his press secretaries. We're all being deputized to make sense of whatever the heck he just said. And I find that offensive, and I don't like the way he communicates. It's not just that it's stupid. It's not just that it's obnoxious. It's that he expects us to run interference for him, and he's supposed to be the big communicator. He's supposed to be the marketing guru. Which is it? Are you able to stand on your own 2 feet and make yourself understood, or do you want us to make excuses for you? Because it can't be both ways. You know, my position is he's a big boy. If he wants to be the marketing guy, if he wants to be the salesman that he tells us that he is, then he needs to go out and do it. But I am sick of making excuses for him when he says that, we're maybe going to inject disinfectant. I don't. That's not my job.
No, I would agree with you. It's not. Absolutely not. But if he is looking for a new press secretary, hey, you know.
Yeah.
Since he's kind of taken on the job himself, that is I think one of the problems is that he doesn't use his press secretary anymore. So his last
Yeah.
press secretary he dismissed never did one press conference.
Now, was that the woman who was the PR agent for Melania?
I believe that's where she came from. I can't remember because she literally was never on TV even once. That's what I thought was funny was like she was dismissed and I think she's been press secretary for like a year and she never conducted one press conference. Not one. That's
Yeah.
that's absolutely unprecedented. Absolutely unprecedented. So
And allegedly, she was Melania's press secretary before that, but we never saw her doing that either. So what did she do?
I don't know. I don't know. I can't answer that question. I don't have that kind of insider information.